Hey, welcome back to Viking Central. If you're now joining us, there's still a minute 36 left in the fourth quarter in this Vikings Eagles game, but Jalen Hurts just completed on 3rd and 9 a really deep shot to AJ Brown, who's hurt us this game for two touchdowns. It doesn't look right. Um, obviously, we only have one timeout left. There's just probably not going to be the time. And they can kick a field goal right now and put this game out of range. So, um, yeah, tough game. I know it's still going right now, but figured I'd get it started towards the end of the game. I was really hoping when I started the post game pod that we'd get a stop here on 3rd down and hopefully be able to watch this final minute and a half with the Vikings offense driving. But going into this game, I think getting healthier, having Blake Cashman coming back, getting a healthier offensive line. I think coming into this game, um, I think there was definitely a corner a little bit more in this game and on this Vikings team. And obviously, the turnover bug, one of the things I talked about in our Vikings key to the game, Steelers game, Cleveland game, this game, just turnovers, just killing us. And I know that Philly didn't get a turnover off of the one interception from Carson Wentz. That pick six, that killed us, that hurt us bad. And you know, bend not break type of defense that we typically see from Brian Flores today. That just wasn't the case with Devontae Smith, and seeing AJ Brown really just make some big catches that we didn't have the over the top safety help. They took advantage of man coverage and some really long touchdowns. That one from Devonta Smith, I think, was like a 79-yarder. Alex Manning says poor play calling on that 3rd and long. Soft coverage on AJ Brown was silly. Absolutely, absolutely, and they've been burning us over the top. Um, yeah, it's just tough. 48 seconds left in the game right now. It's 3rd and 13. You know, we don't have any timeouts, so after this play, clock's going to run. They're going to kick a field goal. We have to block a field goal is what it's going to probably come down to if we get the stop on this 3rd down. So we'll see what happens here, but I agree. Just not a good play call there either. High says our secondary is cooked. Absolutely horrible by them today. Yeah, it just for a lot of this game, our defense did play good ball. Our defense did their job. We contained Jalen Hurts, you know, albeit a few plays that absolutely came down and ended up killing us. Looks like they've kneeled the ball. It's 4th down. The clock's gonna run, and I'm gonna assume that they're either going to just hike the ball and run the clock out themselves, or try to kick a field goal. So there's only going to be a few seconds left on this play clock, maybe a second or two. So they're going to be able to probably uh, take this ball and throw it in the air. Yeah, I mean, Saquon was really minimized today too. Um, I guess I really haven't checked up on the rest of the standings right now and scores going on for the North right now. Let's take a look at some scores. So I know the Browns game was going on here too. Browns 31-6. Bears beat the Saints 26-14. They're now 4-2. So yeah, I mean we're gonna end up being last in the NFC North. Now 3-3, nothing to scoff at, but we still have another 3 games in a row that are gonna be really tough, to win. Most likely we're gonna see, Lamar back, when we play the Ravens, so Lamar Jackson, he gets healthy, that becomes a really tough game again. Playing the Ravens right now, obviously, that's a different type game. That's a different offense, and a totally different team without Lamar Jackson, but they're gonna end up getting him back. So 2 seconds left in the game here. We'll see what, they do. Jalen Hurts is out, not the kicker, so, they're probably just gonna hike the ball and probably do, a 2-second, kneel here, and that's what they do. So, that's your final score: Eagles 28, Vikings 22. We dropped to 3-3. The Eagles go to 5-2. Go ahead, send your comments if you have any more on X that you want to share, with us. But when we try to break down some of this game, um, turnovers, man. I mean, I know I talked about it already, but the turnovers are absolutely killing us in some of these games. The momentum that we do have, we just end up draining ourselves from it. Carson Wentz, he threw for 313 yards, but he hurt us on a lot of big third downs, taking sacks and not throwing the ball away. Obviously, it hurt, throwing the pick six, the other interception that he had. So he throws 2 picks today. And just, Carson missed, that CJ Ham play in the red zone. CJ Ham's wide open. He doesn't see him. We end up kicking field goals today. This was a Will Reichard type game, um, to where I think we were 1 of 6 in the red zone today. Just awful percentages. We got to get touchdowns. At least, in half of those opportunities, we got to be able to get in the end zone. If we're able to do that, this is a different game. We did play better on offense in the second half, but Jordan Mason didn't seem like it seemed like we had better success in the second half, where he had some bigger runs. Um, he has 15 carries for 57 yards. That's a 3.8 click. That was a nice run out of the Wildcat for the one touchdown that we did have today. But other than that, I mean, we really struggled to run the ball. Xavier Scott had 4 carries for only 4 yards total. The best runner was Carson Wentz scrambling late in the game. He rushed for 28 yards, and he got some big first downs in there too. One thing to talk about was Blake Brandell. Blake Brandell played great at center for Cleveland, but today's game, arguably, um, he didn't have a good game. He didn't. That snap that was luckily recovered by Carson Wentz, which ends up being a really long field goal. I think a 58-yarder from Will Reichard instead of, possibly, just a botched red zone opportunity there on third down. And then the very next um, series, I believe, Blake Brandell, we're trying to, I think it was the pick six play, where Jalen Carter gets around Blake Brandell and steps into Carson Wentz and hits him on the throw. Now, eh, you know, he may have still had it. He was trying to go to Justin Jefferson, uh, and a linebacker was there. So, if he doesn't get hit, does he complete that pass? I'm not sure. That linebacker stepped right in, and took it for that pick six. But he ended up getting pulled in the game. Blake Brandell did for Michael Jurgens. We ended up seeing that. Um, so we'll see what happens with that come next week as well at the center position. And you know Isaiah Rogers didn't have a good game today. Getting burned by Devonta, and I can't remember if he was. I believe Metellus was the one in coverage with the early AJ Brown touchdown as well. So, I mean, typically we don't see that from the Vikings defense. We have that bend don't break mentality, trying to make other teams struggle and kick field goals against us rather than letting them burn us with big plays. But that was not the case today. Um, Jalen Hurts throws for 326 yards and 3 touchdowns today. Like I said, we minimized, some of the big things that coming into this game because they're a running team. Jalen Hurts had 4 carries for -10 yards. Saquon, 18 carries for 44 yards. Tank Bigsby had 1 carry for 11 yards. We held him to 45 yards total rushing. What hurt us were the big plays. The big plays, the 79-yarder to Devonta Smith, the 45-yarder throw towards the end of the game, to take the ball out of our offensive hands, you know, uh, the early touchdown to A.J. Brown. Those big plays are the ones that decided the game today, along with obviously the touchdown, defensive touchdown by the Eagles as well. But uh, we got to convert. Our offense has got to convert when they're in the red zone. So whether that is we need better play calling in that situation, um, whether that's making sure that we're not taking sacks that put us in now third and long situations, especially in the red zone. Carson got to throw that ball away. So we'll see what happens next week. Maybe it's JJ McCarthy that's starting, and not Carson Wentz. But man, something's got to change. We got to be more productive on offense. I mean, albeit some of those big plays that our defense allowed today, our defense did a really good job for most of the game, albeit some of those big plays that we blew. But if you ask me, take away that pick six, you know, then the Eagles are only sitting at 21 points. If you tell me that the Eagles are only going to score 21 points in this game, I'm going to tell you that we win that game. You know, I'll take that. If you're going to tell me that the Eagles are only going to run for 45 yards when they have a running quarterback in Saquon Barkley, I would tell you we win that game. So the fact that we came in, and that's what ended up happening as an end result, is we came away from this game and we lost. I'm very shocked and surprised. Um, and Jeremy, I see I see you on there. I know you also. He was on the show. Jeremy Malo, fan of the Eagles. He was on the show. He actually picked the Vikings to win this game. He says pretty good game from a garbage quarterback, because that's one of the jabs we had at him. Go Birds. Um, yeah, screw the Eagles. Still hate the Eagles. Sorry, Jeremy. Screw the Eagles. Yeah, Jalen Hurts. He had he had a few good throws on us today. Other than that, I mean, our defense did the job. We played good enough, albeit some big blown coverages to win this game. So, um, a positive to take away from this game is just we showed that we have the ability to stop the run, and hopefully that carries on into our next upcoming games, because we're going to need uh, the ability. Now, maybe this is a question. Because we committed to stopping the run, was that the reason that we didn't have the safety help over the top that resulted in the long plays by Devonta and AJ Brown today? Because we committed to the run, we've been a really good, one of the best in the league in pass coverage. Is it because we committed so much to stopping the run today that we took risks in the pass game, and this was the result? I, I don't know. Again, you tell me that the Eagles are only going to rush for 45 total yards today. I, t- you know, I believe that we win this game. So, tough loss today. I do want to thank our sponsors that we have. That's Badass Wood Art, SeatGeek, and Homage. Go ahead and use that link for Homage. That's one of the ways you can get some great t-shirts, and also one of the ways that you can support us at SeatGeek for your next upcoming Vikings games or anything else that you have going on. Make sure that you're using SeatGeek to get $20 off any $50 or more purchase when you use that code Vike Central. And then, of course, you know, that's Badass Wood Art. Our badass player of the game. I got to think about this for a second. When I think about it, Jordan Addison is who comes to mind for that badass player of the game. So, haven't had time. Still frustrated with this game to make up that graphic for him yet. But Jordan Addison really did have a great game. 9 catches for 128 yards. Just Jefferson didn't have a bad game either. 5 catches for 79 yards. But the real big one that hurt us today again, the turnovers, man. Carson, you got to protect the ball better on third down. You can't take those sacks, and you got to throw the ball away. So, but that's badass Woodart. Shout out to them. Badass player of the game, Jordan Addison. Again with those 9 catches, 128 yards. Even though it be in a loss, 28-22 to the Eagles. That's badass Woodart. Please check out the stuff that they have at That's Badass Woodart. They have some great products out there for you to check out. They usually do Vikings giveaways during Vikings games, which I'm sure he's doing another one today that he did. So go ahead, check them out. He usually does the giveaways on X. You can go ahead and search them, but anything you're buying from there, you can get 15% off when you use that code VC15. Another comment that just popped in at Brandel's holding penalty was a terrible call. Absolutely. Absolutely. That holding call, the Eagles player was like at his feet, and he's just, he has nowhere to go. He's just trying to step. Um, I thought that was a very weak holding call, which resulted in, so that was a Jalen Naylor touchdown pass from Wentz to Naylor that ended up being called back because of that holding call on Brandel. Um, yeah, no, I totally agree with that. So thanks me for chiming in. One of the other things that me says it's time to go sign a corner or a defensive back. You know, again, we didn't before this game. We're towards the top of the league in pass defense. Isaiah Rogers was at least PFF rated as number one corner in all of football. Byron Murphy Jr. Playing some really good ball too. So, is it that we need to go sign a corner or defensive back, or was it our defensive scheme today that allowed some of those big plays because we were so committed in stopping Saquon and minimizing the opportunities that Jalen Hurts had to run out of the pocket and hurt us? Because Jalen Hurts only ran for negative 10 yards. Negative 10 yards. That's huge. Saquon, yeah, he got hurt, but that was late in the game. They still total only ran for 45 yards. Um, you take away, one, one of those big plays, and we don't throw a pick six. You know, uh, this game looks different. So, but I don't know. I think I don't know if I would say time to go sign a corner or a defensive back. I don't want to overreact, I guess, to the play that we had today, just based off of what we've had throughout the season. We've played some really good ball in the past defensive scheme. I think the scheme today is what hurt us with maybe some big plays. Absolutely, they missed so many. Yeah, they called it up in the booth on TV as well too. Goddard holding Grenard that could have resulted in a sack on that play. Instead, it ends up in a big pass completion. I think that was even a second or a third down that ended up being completed off of that same play. Um, yeah, I mean, we didn't get some of those calls today that hurt us for sure. So, um, but any other things that you guys have that you wanna share? I'll stay on for a few more minutes to kind of talk about the game, but it's a tough loss. Yeah, it's one I felt good about coming back home with. And if we take a look at the upcoming schedule for the Vikings next week, it's a short week. They play Thursday night football, so most likely we'll have your pregame show probably on Wednesday night, most likely. But again, they're at the Los Angeles Chargers Thursday night football. It should be on Amazon Prime. And then after that, they're going to face Detroit at Detroit. That's going to be a Sunday noon game on Fox. And then they come back home to face Baltimore and then Chicago and then Green Bay. Um, and I apologize. Baltimore, Chicago are at home, and then they're gonna go to Green Bay, after that. So that's kind of a sneak peek at the next 5 games. Those are 5 really tough games. Chicago's playing good ball too, most likely in week 10. Like I said, when we face Baltimore, they probably have Lamar Jackson back. Those are really tough games. We look down the schedule. Seattle's playing really good. Sam Darnold, that's maybe a Sam Darnold revenge type game for a storyline. Washington, again, that's a good team. Dallas is playing good ball on the offensive side, to where a lot of their games are ending in shootouts. Do we have the ability to keep up with a team like that offensively? Um, New York has a new life that they've been playing. The Giants, they're on their schedule. Then Detroit again, Green Bay. The rest of the way, we're playing winning teams. The rest of the way, yeah. New York isn't quite a winning team, but they are a different team than they were from the start of the season, or at least that's what it seems to be. So, really tough schedule ahead of us. This was one that I feel like maybe got away from us that we definitely, I don't know if I should say should have, but definitely should have, could have won. Um, so it's a tough one for sure. But I'm not seeing any more comments. Again, tough loss. Eagles get the victory today, 28-22 over the Vikings. We'll catch you next week for our Vikings pregame show. I'll probably have an article to write after this game as well too. But yeah, John Sojo says, "Good news, you don't have to play the Panthers." I'd like to play the Panthers right now because if we could sub them in for other people we have on our schedule, that would be great news. Me says, "What would our record be with Darnold if we re-signed him?" Um, Obviously he's playing some really good ball, so um, you have to think of it this way though too. The players that we brought in, who would be playing those spots either. Would we have a better record? I think that's probably possible that we have a better record with Darnold. Absolutely, but we maybe don't have Jonathan Allen. We maybe don't have Hargrave. We maybe don't have Will Fries potentially if we sign Darnold. So that's just one thing to think of in that category. So we maybe don't make some of those signings with Darnold here. So I'm still believing in the possibility that with continued play experience, that we have a quarterback in JJ McCarthy that I want to see him out on the field. With the schedule that we have in front of us, that's a tough road. Yes, we're only 3-3. We're at 500. It's not a losing record. I think with the games that we have on our schedule, it's going to be tough to eke out. A lot of wins to get into the playoffs at this point. We needed to start strong early because of how tough our schedule was coming up. So it is going to be tough the rest of the way. Um, I want to see what we have in JJ. You know, I'd like to know by the end of the season if we have something that going into next season, we know that we have our guy, or that we're back to the drawing board. If we play out this season and, let's just say we have, a lot of losses that we end up racking up and we find out that JJ's not the guy, hey, we're back to the drawing board, whether that be a free agency situation or we're back to drafting the future guy. That's worst case scenario. Best case, well, I shouldn't say worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is we don't get JJ out on the field, and then we go into next season still wondering what we have. So I think that you got to play them, see what we got. Um, as it sits right now with the play with Carson Wentz, um, that's not going to be the solution towards um, long-term success for us, just based on the play that he's given us. Has it been the worst? The worst? No, it hasn't. But We can't have the turnovers that we've been having, and you can't take those sacks. That's one of the problems I had with Sam Darnold last year too. He was taking sacks in big spots that really cost us. That happened again today. Me says seeing reports of Addison being on New England's mind. What would his trade value look like? If we start dropping some games, we're still 3-3. I don't think we're sellers yet at this point. Um, but let's just say that we drop our next three games. I think that changes a little bit. We drop our next three games. Yeah, you could see Addison on the trade block. And not that I would want to see him on the trade block because I'd love to see him resign here, but he's going to want a big contract. Obviously, he's had off-season issues, and then what happened before the Cleveland game. Yeah, so there's been um, talk of it. Um, Man, draft stock on. I think he's worth at least a first for Addison. At this point, he's a young receiver. He sees himself. He's going to want a big contract. So I see them getting, at his current rate, they're getting somebody still on a rookie deal. I think that's worth getting at least a first round pick out of it. So I'd have to look a little bit deeper into it as far as his trade value. But I would say if Addison was on the trade block, I still think even with the offseason stuff that he's had, his performance on the field and his uplook for his age and his value, I think there would be multiple bidders outside of New England. Now, New England's got a lot of capital to work with, but that could be a bidding war for his services as well. Good question. I'm not seeing anything else on here. Again, join us this week for the pregame show versus the Eagles, or sorry, versus the Chargers because we play them on Thursday. It's a short week, most likely. I think probably a 9 o'clock, 9:30 pregame show on Wednesday is probably where we could look to see that. It might be a back-to-back fantasy 15, followed by a Viking Central pregame show is possibly what we're looking at for Wednesday. So, thank you again for joining us. Unfortunately, this isn't a more joyous occasion as far as our post game show. Hope to be celebrating a win with you today. Instead, it's talking about what we didn't do right today and a loss, and what we maybe need to do in our next game. We definitely need to retool to make sure that we get that running game going. Not great, today. We got to go in the second half. We need to retool there as well. So maybe we see JJ McCarthy on Thursday night. I know Carson Wentz got a little bit banged up there in that second half too. It'll be interesting to see what we hear. Probably Monday, Tuesday, probably Tuesday's press conference from KOC to find out who he's leaning towards starting. Because I think if JJ McCarthy is starting Thursday night, I think we'll know on Tuesday. I think by Tuesday we should know who's going to be that starting quarterback. He could leave a little bit of secrecy in there, but I think he would be committed, and you'd see JJ McCarthy as a full participant in practice if he's possibly starting. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks for joining the post game. Appreciate everyone else that joined and added in some different comments and questions that you had. So appreciate it so much. For Viking Central, I'm Steve Hoykla. Until next time, Skol Vikings. Hopefully get a win next Thursday against the Chargers.